My name is Tim Zalabak. Time now for the WTIM Morning Show. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. Today on my line, we have Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration. How are you today, Mr. Myers?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing super well today, even better now. Got you on my line. We can all get a little bit more educated on Social Security Administration, all your programs and things going on over there. So let's get started here. When it comes to accessing my Social Security earnings history, I want to know everything that I've earned in all my years of working. How can I do this?
Yeah, so the best way to do that, Tim, is to go to our website at ssa.gov. When you're there, set up a My Social Security account for yourself. So you can find it a lot of different ways when you get to the website, or you can navigate directly there by going ssa.gov/my account. But once you set up that My Social Security account at the ssa.gov website, then you can take a look at your earnings history and make sure that it looks accurate. And it's important that you do that because your earnings history is a record of your progress toward your future Social Security benefits. You know, we're tracking your earnings so that we can pay you the benefits you've earned through your working years when the time comes for you to collect something from Social Security.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, if I go into my Social Security and I look and my records don't seem quite correct, there's not enough money in there for all those years I worked. Now, do I have to go back to the employer? How do I go about this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's important because when it comes time to calculating, let's just use retirement, for example. When we're going to calculate a retirement benefit, we're going to use your 35 best years of work that were taxed by Social Security. We're going to adjust those for inflation, but what you're going to be looking for in your earnings record is just the data. You know, you're going to be looking for your earnings to be there. If you spot a problem, you know, you see something, maybe a year's missing or something like that, then it's pretty easy for us to fix it if you still have the tax document. So if you work for somebody else and you have a W-2 for that year, or if you work for yourself and you have your self-employment tax return along with proof that the income tax was paid, you can just get that to us at Social Security and we can get that adjusted for you. And, you know, Tim, that kind of speaks to the importance of checking this on a regular basis because, you know, it's not like everybody keeps those documents forever. So if you spot an issue while you still have those documents, it's pretty easy for us to get it fixed for you, but it becomes more difficult down the road if you no longer have those documents when you figure out that issue exists.
Sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Now, if I did this 1 year and I'm looking and I'm good and I feel like I don't have to look at it again, this is not the way to go about that. Is this a yearly activity that we need to be doing?
It really is. You know, it's not, I don't want to make it sound like it's common that there are issues because it really isn't, but it's pretty significant, or it could be anyway, pretty significant to you if there is an issue with your earnings record. So the value in looking at it is there. It's a good thing to do on an annual basis. Now, I always tell people, don't worry if you don't see last year's, because depending on what point in the year you're checking it, we might not have all of the prior year's earnings reports posted yet. When you get deeper into the year like we are now, though, you should probably be seeing most of last year's posted, but of course you wouldn't see anything for this year yet. Those haven't even been sent to us yet because the year's not over. But it is something that's worth checking on an annual basis just to keep tabs on it, make sure it's accurate, and make sure you get it fixed with us if you spot any issues.
Sure, that makes a ton of sense there. Now, if we're talking about filing and we're talking about these yearly tax activities, when you're speaking about W-2s, what do we have to look at when concerning W-2s?
Yeah, so if you're trying to take a look at your record and you're wanting to compare to the My Social Security account, when you're looking at your W-2, what you're going to want to look at is the box on the W-2 that says Social Security wages. That's typically where you're going to see the earnings that show up in the Social Security wage column on our website. So you'll notice when you look at your W-2, if you haven't paid a whole lot of attention through the previous years, there are multiple boxes. and they have different figures, and that's because of the different way income is reported and taxed and that sort of thing. But what you're wanting to compare with our website and your My Social Security account is the Social Security wage column on our website and the Social Security wage box on your W-2.
Perfect. And all of this is found at ssa.gov. We got to get that out there. Is that correct?
That's it. Yep,
Beautiful.
that's our website.
All right, ssa.gov. Always got to remember that one. Now, staying with W-2s a little bit, I've worked for multiple places. I got multiple employers. Where does this come into play?
Yeah, so that's a really good thing to think about as well, because basically we don't update your wage report by individual. We do it by employer. So if you had multiple employers, it's possible that we might have 2 or 3 of them posted to your record, but not the 4th one yet, because we haven't gotten to those wage reports. It's also possible that there might have been a problem with one of those. So you want to look at all of your W-2s and make sure that they all show up eventually. But remember what I said earlier is it's kind of a flow basis. So early in the year, don't be too surprised to see one hit before another, and then a second one, and then a third, depending. This is something that comes in, especially with people who work out of union halls, who work for a lot of different employers throughout a year. You really kind of have to have some patience and wait for all of those different W-2s to post. But certainly once the year's closed, like by the time we get to the end of 2023, you should be able to look back and see all of 2022 posted.
Sure. All right. Very, very cool there. And if I do spot a problem within all of this, what can I do? Is there going to be a person I can call, or is there a website I can go to if I spot one of these problems?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do if you spot an issue with your earnings record is, like I said before, take a look, find your documents that show that there's an issue there, and then you're going to want to get those to us at a local Social Security office. Now, for most people in the listening area, that's going to be our Springfield office. But if you're, just passing through and you're hearing this, you can go to our website at ssa.gov/locator. And based on your zip code, it'll show you whatever your local Social Security office is.
Beautiful. All right. We're talking about my Social Security earnings history right now with Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist for the Social Security Administration. Anything else for earnings history here, Mr. Myers?
No, just one more quick reminder that, you should be checking that on an annual basis just to make sure that everything looks good.
Awesome. All right. Perfect. Stay up to date on all that information, because it pays to keep up on that information. It really sounds like you need to stay up on that. So awesome. Now we're talking about saving money and making sure we have all of the correct amount of money when we're talking about supplemental security income, and I need to report changes, or if I'm applying, tell me the information I need to know about supplemental security income.
Yeah, so Tim, that's a program that we administer in our offices. It's not the same as Social Security. So, a lot of people think about Social Security, you think about the stuff we were just talking about. You think about the earnings that you had through the years, the Social Security taxes, and then the Social Security benefits that get paid out as a result of those earnings, whether it's because of disability, retirement, survivor, whatever the case may be. So that's all our Social Security program. But then we also administer the Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, program in our offices. And that program is not based on the work that you've done or the taxes that you've paid in. It's a needs-based program. So, the funds for that still come from federal tax dollars, but they don't come from the Social Security tax dollars. Right. Because it is a needs-based program, because it is not based on the taxes that you paid into Social Security, there are things we have to look at in terms of income and assets that affect your eligibility. And so there are certain changes that you're going to need to report to us, because they're going to affect SSI payments differently than they would Social Security payments. Some of those things, like I kind of alluded to, income and resources are a factor of eligibility. So changes in circumstances can affect those SSI benefits and need to be reported to us. So, basically, if you are receiving SSI or applying for SSI, you need to report changes for yourself and your spouse if you live together. If you have applied for SSI for a child, changes should be reported for the parents who are in the same household as the child. And the types of changes This isn't an all-inclusive list, but it's kind of some of the most common ones. Things like changes in income, changes in resources like bank accounts, vehicles, property, changes in employment if you start, stop, or change a job, change in your address, or if someone moves in or out of the household, somebody who's getting SSI exits or enters a nursing home, entering or exiting jail or prison. That's obviously something we need to know about. Change in U.S. citizenship or lawful non-citizen status. And then, of course, change in marital status. So those are, again, just some of the big ones, not an all-inclusive list, but a lot of those types of things you need to be thinking about if you're on SSI and reporting any changes in those types of circumstances to us so that we can make sure we're paying you the proper monthly SSI benefit.
Totally. Yeah. So many things to consider there. And those many changes can happen, a couple of those can happen all within a year. So updating all of that can be very important there. We're talking right now with Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist for the Social Security Administration. We talked about some earnings history and applying or receiving supplemental security income, all the things that you need to be aware of for that. We thank Jack Myers for being here with us today. We're going to take our short break right here, but we're going to be back with some more Social Security Administration for you all. Thank you all for being here. My name is Tim Zalbeck, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. We will be right back.
Your information station, WTIM.
Advanced Eye Care today at 824-4991. That's 824-4991 to schedule an appointment. Advanced Eye Care. Modern eye care. Old-fashioned caring.
Christian County Senior Citizen sends best wishes for a happy, safe Halloween and reminds boys and girls to be sure to stay in neighborhoods they know well. Do not enter a house unless you are with an adult. Always carry identification, your name, address, and phone number. A Halloween safety tip from your friends at Christian County Senior Citizens, 701 West Adams Street in Taylorville. Make this Halloween extra fun and safe, says Kemmer Village in Assumption, Illinois. Kids, stay together and watch traffic. Walk on the left side of the road where there's no sidewalk. Adults, watch out for the little ones while driving this Halloween. With best wishes for Halloween, this safety reminder is from Kemmer Village in Assumption, Illinois. First National Bank, the quality bank, with locations in Pana, Assumption, Taylorville, Blue Mound, and Decatur, reminds children who will be out trick-or-treating this Halloween to visit only well-lighted houses. If there's no sidewalk, walk on the left side of the road or street facing traffic. Make this a safe, fun Halloween. First National Bank, the quality bank.
Hi, this is Carrie Ostwick, financial advisor with Edward Jones, located at 601 North Webster Street in Taylorville. To find out all the services we provide, click our icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
I'm Kim Bourne, CEO of Taylorville Memorial Hospital, and we're hiring experienced nurses to join our great team. Learn more by clicking on our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I am your host, Tim Zalabak. Good to be here with you all on this fine Tuesday. Let's thank our sponsors that make this show possible. People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. I'm sitting down with Jack Myers today, Public Affairs Specialist with the Social Security Administration. Jack, we thank you once again for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's get right back into it. We've been talking Social Security. First off, we talked a little bit about earnings history and applying for supplemental security income. Many things to know while undergoing that process. It can all be found at ssa.gov. Now we're going to talk about a problem that we've talked a little bit about on this station when referring to scams and people being aware of things, especially the elderly population. And we're talking minimizing the risk of financial abuse with people living with dementia. This is a tough problem, Jack.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, Tim, financial crime against older Americans is a growing problem. People living with dementia are at an especially high risk of becoming victims. As memory and other cognitive skills decline, it becomes easier to fall victim to fraud and scams. And, I've seen some statistics recently that said victims of fraud who are 80 years and older lose an average of $39,200 each year. So, as you mentioned, that's just a big problem, and we hope to give out some tips that can help people avoid that sort of thing. As you mentioned, we talked in the past about elder abuse and the different types, and this financial exploitation is the most common form. A lot of times this is going to go unreported because the victims don't always realize it's happening, or if they do, their caretakers don't always realize it's happening. So I thought that we could talk today about some things that caregivers and, their elderly loved ones, friends, family, whatever the case may be, could do together to try to minimize the risk. Now, some of these things are going to involve some conversations, and obviously these are always sensitive situations because not everybody is as willing to approach or do some of these things, but they're just at least things to think about, Tim. So one thing that I would recommend, or we would recommend doing, would be to try to talk to your loved one about spending limits on credit cards. That's a way to kind of limit some damage. It still keeps some autonomy, gives them some flexibility to be able to go out and enjoy time with their friends and that sort of thing. But it sort of limits the damage that could be done. Another thing would be to sign up for the do not call list. That would help just stop different types of solicitations. One tip that I want to offer there, though, is don't have a false sense of comfort, I guess, or security about signing up for the do not call list. The do not call list at donotcall.gov will help you avoid solicitations, but it won't prevent scam calls. Scam calls don't care about a do not call list. So just keep that in mind. This is for things that they don't need but might buy but are legitimate problems. So donotcall.gov there. A couple other things I would recommend talking to them about is setting up auto pay for bills instead of paying them by check. This way things don't get forgotten. All of the essentials are covered on a month-by-month basis. If you could get them to allow you to be notified of withdrawals from bank accounts or large credit card charges, that's going to help you identify as a caregiver anomalies or things that shouldn't be happening there. And electronic bank and credit card statements are another great way. So, just a few things, like I said, a few things that you can do to help minimize the risk of any kind of financial exploitation and at least find out about it sooner if there is something going on there.
Sure. Yeah. And if you had the answer for all, it's just to stop scam calls, I'm pretty sure everyone would be visiting ssa.gov, but the do not call.gov, it'll help you out just a little bit there. Jack, we are out of time today, but I really appreciate you coming in and getting us all a little bit more informed today.
My pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist for the Social Security Administration. My name's Tim Zalabak. You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne